Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 3 titled Destiny broke off from the current plot in order to give us some backstory about May and Osha. I'm still not sure if it was completely necessary unless we continue to do flashbacks for other info, and I'm beginning to struggle with tracking all of the themes that may or may not be present. But other sounds are starting to gain focus. This is Star Wars Music Analysis. The episode begins with the most peaceful music that we've heard yet as we go into the past. Strings and harp take us into forest full of wonder. We can tell that the first girl we see is Osha because as she watches and holds the alien butterfly, excerpts of her theme enter. Specifically, the turn that comes right after the initial ascending perfect fifth. But the butterfly is held again through the Force. This time, the music changed to minor, and it immediately tells us that now May is the one holding onto the butterfly. The same sounds return again as May holds onto another butterfly. This time, it gets louder as May's obsession goes further.
Let it go, May. Stop!
As the two girls continue on their journey, the clarinet enters though to return them to peacefulness. As we move into the title card, Abels turns the music darker as we see a younger soul. It foreshadows that the Jedi could actually represent a source of darkness here as they attempt to take children that are Force sensitive. As we see the fortress that May and Osha reside in, a theme enters that I think we've heard before, but I can't find where we heard it before. To be honest, there seem to be a lot of these stray themes so far by Abels that seem to be unassociated with anything specific, or if they are, then they are not well established. I do remember reading an interview with Abels recently though where he said that the themes do not represent characters as much as situations. So I'm curious to see how well we're able to associate these themes through this method as the show continues. But I'm also curious if any of you have noticed something similar. There's a clear Osha theme and a clear May theme, but beyond that, everything seems blurry for me so far. As the two women speak, Abel sustains a light tension like the one that's in their conversation. However, there's also a strong kindness and respect between them, and so he diffuses that tension by adding harp arpeggios as well. Music is absent as the mother teaches about the Force, but what she refers to as the thread, to her coven. However, as they hear a sound in the wings, a short motif enters. It seems to be part of a larger theme that could be for the entire coven, though because we hear it several more times, either the same or in reverse order, as Osha and May speak in the next scene, or as we move to the beginning of the ceremony. Throughout the ceremony, Abels scores percussion underneath, a layering of chants and singing. As May and Osha ascend, a different style of singing enters, more similar to the traditions of the Middle East, overtop a soft choir. This is further enhanced by the returning percussion and live singing of the Coven. It's an interesting juxtaposition of cultures and sounds that I believe Abels used to reflect how these witches have come from many different planets and cultures, but are now one sound, one group. After that, the words that they speak, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, moves to the actual soundtrack. And this for me was a little strange. I cannot think of a single other example where this occurs in Star Wars, where actual words are used, and especially those words that are already being sung by or said by direct characters in the scene. This felt a little off for me as it begins to break down the so-called fourth wall. But I'd love to know what all of you think about this as well. The music cuts off as the ceremony is interrupted and before Osha can be anointed. Percussion and didgeridoo enter in response as the Coven await the arrival of the Jedi. As they enter, the music changes to something pure with a solo viola and voice. That same string drone that held on before returns to hold the tension during the scene. Other sounds come and go as well in the background to create further ambiance. As the mother states that they have no father, the mood of the scene changes along with the music, becoming more tense. But as Sol hands Osha his lightsaber, it recedes, being replaced by Osha's theme instead in the piano. But the mother has other ideas and takes control of Padawan Torben. The darkness carries into the music as well. As she releases Torben though, the music releases as well. As the Jedi leave, the same theme that entered when they came in enters again.
Gather my advisors.
As May and Osha approach the Jedi ship, Osha's theme enters as she's filled with intrigue. It enters several more times as she speaks to Kalnaka. The music becomes warm and comforting as Sol comforts Osha with a warm reassurance. And as the mother speaks to her later, the theme of the Coven enters in the harp.
Destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. You get to make a choice.
But as May begins to light a fire to kill her sister, her dark theme enters, reflecting her first steps towards the dark side.
Help me!
The music picks up energy from there as the brass enter, along with an ostinato in the strings. It begins to build tension as Osha attempts to escape. May's theme returns again as she and Osha confront each other.
What have you done? What have you done?
The Coven theme returns several more times in the upper voices, like screams as Osha and Sol flee the destruction and everything that Osha has ever known. As Sol attempts to comfort Osha again, the music doesn't allow it to happen as it holds a creepy tension. I wonder if it's reflecting the hesitancy in Sol of whether he did the right thing or not. The peaceful harp returns for a moment as May returns to the tree where she finds her sister, but it turns darker right away as the young girl is now on her own. This was by far the strangest episode so far for me, but we also have to keep in mind that as we move further and further from the traditional Jedi and Sith confrontations, and we meet more clans that use the Force in different ways like this Coven, we're also going to continually see weird things. But let's remember too that 50 years ago the concept of the Force in general was pretty weird to many people, so I'm willing to keep an open mind to it. And the soundtrack didn't strike home for me. To go further, the loose associations of the themes and lack of clear connections is driving me a little crazy right now, but that's probably mostly specific just to me. We have to keep in mind that we're still not even halfway through this show, but it's definitely starting to feel like this show is going to end in a way that opens up more doors to more stories and concepts. But I absolutely would love to know what all of you think. What did you think of this episode? And I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more debate here than normal. How do you think Osha and May were actually created? It seems like some sort of Force sorcery was used, perhaps manipulating midichlorians similar to what Plagueis does later. I also have a theory that the Master we see later could actually be one of these mothers with some sort of voice distortion. I'm curious what any of you think of that. And are you having as much trouble as me being able to distinguish different themes in this show? Tell me in the comments below what you think, and consider checking out my Patreon page using the link in the description, where you can help support this channel for as little as $1 a month, or download PDFs and MP3s of projects as I complete them, along with other perks at higher tiers. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to learn more about the music of a galaxy far, far away, and as always, may the be with you.